Recording program.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Think and Grow Rich Mastermind Live. Again, today, like every day, we come and share with you another principle from the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Today, that principle is the principle of the mastermind. But I like to always start with the question. And my question to you today is, how do you accumulate wealth? Well, Napoleon Hill basically says that there's a formula. The formula is your desire. It is a burning desire. The burning desire is mixed with, I like to call it that mastermind principle. The mastermind principle and a burning desire means absolutely nothing without organized plans by which to accumulate your desire. So Napoleon Hill tells us that a mastermind principle is accumulation, if you will. I call it accumulation of spirits. He calls it a coordination of knowledge and effort in the spirit of harmony. Our guest today, Miss Khadija J. Head and her family, is an excellent example of gaining power through the mastermind. So please comment, like, share the podcast, also subscribe, but also bring a pen and pencil because I believe you're going to want to take notes when you hear her story as we share this principle from Napoleon Hill's phenomenal book by The Story Behind the Story. And I like to share this always. If you're listening for the first, second, or third time, go back to the beginning of this philosophy when Andrew Carnegie asked Napoleon Hill, would you be willing to take 20 years of your life and create a philosophy of success for the least, the lost, the left out, and document the process and explain how do you start with nothing and grow it into something. There are 13 principles that shares how that's done. This particular principle, I believe, is one of the most powerful because Napoleon Hill shares with us that no individual can attain great wealth. Now, let's be sure we're talking about not just wealth, but great wealth without availing themselves of the mastermind principle. And so when we begin to understand that intangible power and the potential of that power that we have access to, when you take 2 or 3 minds, which is nothing but energy, and you bring that energy together, that is powerful. And this podcast this morning is also equally as powerful. With that thought in mind, let me welcome to the show my co-host. Good morning, Dr. Peter James. How are you this awesome morning?
I am doing so well this morning. So excited to dive on into this conversation with you and our distinguished guest around the power of the mastermind. Good morning, folks. My name is Dr. Peter A. James. Excited to be here with you all. Excited to join the Master Wealth Builder as we talk about this mastermind. So if I could echo a little bit or even piggyback on and Neil a bit, and as she mentioned power, and in the text, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill says that power may be defined as organized and intelligently directed knowledge. In our society today, we talk a lot about power. We talk about who has it, why they have it, what they're doing with it when they get it. But I don't even like to sit in that power space. I'd like to identify where can we utilize this word power for the benefit of society, for the benefit of our goals and our objectives. And this power of the mastermind is one of the most impactful ways that power can be implemented. And I have to admit, my first way that I use this power of the mastermind is even right here on this show, day in and day out, coming here to join Galen Bingham and Ann McNeil to be part of this brain trust, for lack of a better word. And so those of you who are watching, we have to start out by asking, what does that look like for you? What does that need to look like for you if you haven't put it in place already? How can this collective benefit you in your future goals and your future objectives? Ooh, Ann McNeil, that was deep right off the top, but I'm not even going to go even deeper because we have a special guest that we can do that with for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And I want to just mention again, if we could ask all of you that's listening, and thank you so very much, all of you who are listening, our regular guest. Peter's going to come back and he's going to connect with you. But as we listen to this story, I want to just ask each of you to just think about your family legacy. Think about your family legacy. And I'd like to ask all of you to help me welcome to the podcast this morning our special guest, Miss Khadija J. Head. Welcome to the podcast, Khadija.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, let me just share with everybody just a little about who you are, just a little, and we're going to come back. Khadija is a third, not first, second, we call them G3s. She is a third generation member of Georgia's oldest Black-owned plumbing company, Heads Plumbing Sales and Service, Inc., which is based out of Southwest Atlanta. As a true entrepreneur at heart, her family lineage has a tenure with this family. She has a tenure with her family business and is still in its infancy, according to her tax records. I'd like to say that it really did start. The business started actually a year after she was born, but we won't tell you her age of that year because then you might not be able to connect as well as if you knew that. She was so very young, and she's still very young, so we'll leave that. Khadija has the honor of winning state championships on the high school level, playing Division I basketball at Murray State University, and finally coaching at the University of Arkansas, Middle Tennessee State University, the University of Pittsburgh, and Kennesaw State University, where she served as interim head coach during her final session. So Khadija, again, welcome to the podcast. And if you would share with us a little about how you got here, then we're going to go to our 13 principles. Then we will come back and we will dig deep into your journey and your story and really engage with you to have a better understanding of how do you use this principle and the impact that this book has had on your business and your life.
Absolutely. Again, Ann and Peter, thank you for having me today. I like to think that the only difference between the person you are today and the person you are next year, the books you read and the people you meet. And a person that I met actually led me to today. So on August the 8th, I shared a post on Instagram imploring podcasters to have me on their show. I prolifically said that I'm the greatest storyteller in the trade. Fast forward, that evening, I got a chance to connect with Ann at the National Speakers Association, the Georgia chapter. all through the connection of Patrick Alexander. So Patrick, before I get into my big spiel, I want to say thank you very much for helping me get to today. And through that connection with Patrick, it led me to manifesting my very first appearance in 2023 on a podcast. So that's just a little snippet. I got way more in store coming soon.
Wow. That's a tee up. I'm not a basketball player, but I think they call it a layup. But all right. Well, we're going to go right now to Peter's going to share the 13 principles. And we want to encourage all of you, please comment, like, and share this podcast. Subscribe to the channel so you can join us every Saturday as we continue to bring phenomenal guests. And when you hear her story today, you will want to make sure you're here every single Saturday. And you may want to consider being here yourself. So, Peter.
Absolutely. And to keep up with the basketball analogies, I'll say thank you for that alley-oop there, Ann McNeil Stewart. But hey, folks, as we are thinking about Think and Grow Rich, if you have never picked up a copy of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, today is your day. Please go to Amazon.com or go to a link and pick up this phenomenal text, of which we dive in weekly of every single chapter of this book every year. It is that impactful. It is that powerful. And again, sometimes I think that I do a good job of giving the inside of this book. Oftentimes, a video does an even better job. So take a listen.
Number 1 is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically. But we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination. The workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the Wild Wild West days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
Well, Ann McNeil, those were those 13 principles. Before we dive into this deep conversation, because it's going to get deep with Khadija, I want to make sure that I acknowledge our listeners, especially our regular listeners, Charles Bright. We have Sheila Head also, who is here as well. I think that may be a special guest also, for sure. And who do we have in YouTube today? We have on the YouTube world, Miss Smitty. We see Imelda Wallace, Colette Coleman. Good morning to you all. Diane King Flowers, Gloria Riley, Shannon Charlton, and Johnny Lloyd. Good morning to you all. It is good to see you and have you with us. If you have some burning questions as we have this conversation with Khadija, please don't hesitate to inject your questions into the chat. We would love to bring them to the table. Good
All
stuff.
right. Thank you so much. If you just joined us, we are talking with Khadija J. Head. And through her, I would like to say her parents' foresight, Head Plumbing has provided Khadija with the most amazing birthdays, holidays, vacations, and life experiences, period, as she grew up. And thanks to her family business, she continues to bear witness and reap the benefits sparked by two baby boomers who defied the odds and took a chance on self in the middle of the most severe economic recession and during pre-COVID and post-World War II. So, Khadija, can you share with us in your own words, how did you get here? A little bit about your story as we talk about this principle, this philosophy, and the amazing activities and experiences you have had with this book, period, but specifically this particular principle. So take us all the way back.
Awesome. Absolutely. I would love to. Just a little short way on my long journey. So I'm an 80s baby. I am a proud 80s baby, and my life has been encompassed with two things: entrepreneurship and athletics. So my entire life, basketball was always my forward-facing center. So what I mean by that is when individuals saw me, they associated me with basketball. And I had this allure behind me that was my family's business. So growing up, I was typically the only girl in the neighborhood on the basketball court. And I just hung around my two brothers, and basketball was truly my outlet. I went through high school. I got a scholarship to play Division I basketball at Murray State. And then from Murray State, I started my professional career. I went to Slippery Rock University to attain my master's degree. And from Slippery Rock, that's when I really catapulted into a professional career side of my journey. University of Arkansas, Middle Tennessee State University, University of Pittsburgh, and Kennesaw State. And all throughout that journey, I had so many victories, but they were always associated with basketball. So what I mean by that, I did everything you could absolutely do as an athlete outside of being a professional athlete. But I was wise enough to know that my very first day of college practice, I knew that this would be it for basketball. I didn't possess the skill set. And to me, that requires a great deal of knowledge. We all must know in life when we have to prepare for a pivot. Most oftentimes in life, we wait till we get to that roadblock and we're like, well, what do I do next? I was wise enough based on my background to understand that basketball is only going to carry me so far. And on the athletic side, I knew that post being a player, that was my stopping point, but I still wanted to be intertwined with the sport. And so I prepared myself to go to the coaching side of it. So won state championships as a coach, I coached in conference championship games. I've had undefeated seasons with tremendous staff members. And that also leads to the concept of the mastermind. So what I mean by that, every coaching staff that I have been a part of, they have had tremendous individuals that have always poured into me. So I always felt like with my time and my tenure with a program, as I went through it, I always collected all the knowledge that I needed to possess. So once my tenure with that program was done, I also left a great part of me, but I also had a great part of me that I could carry on forward with me. And then comes COVID. So COVID was another opportunity to pivot. COVID did a couple of things for me, thankfully. I left home in 1999 when I graduated high school, and the first time I returned back home was in 2016 when I was at Kennesaw State University. And during my last tenure at Kennesaw State, I had a great aha moment. I realized that for the first time in a long time, I can look up in the stands and I could see the joy inside of my parents' eyes, my brother's eyes, my nephew's eyes, my friends' eyes. For the first time, they got a true glimpse of my persona of head coach head. And that truly touched me. And I knew that through all these years, from year 1 to year 15, that this was the stopping point for me, because I was looking into the eyes of individuals that had given so much to my life. As Ann mentioned, tremendous birthdays, tremendous vacations. And I knew that it was my time to give back. And COVID allowed me to do that because we were all stuck at home. So I created a way to give back to my family business. And then when my season of coaching was done, my lifelong journey that I had no idea that I was on a path to ultimately led me to Heads Plumbing Service. It's a business that has been in existence since 1981. I applaud the foresight of my parents. I walk alongside my brother Odari with honor and pride each and every day, because he has been a part of the business since day one. The relationships I build, the platforms that I'm allowed to be on. I am so proud to not only carry the last name Head, but also share what Heads Plumbing means to me, the who, what, when, why, and everything that's associated with our family business. So that's a little bit longer version of a short version of a long version, I promise.
I see Peter. Peter, I'm not sure if you're getting ready to say something, but when I tell you, when I listen to, first of all, when I read your story, and then when I listened to you share prior to the podcast starting, I was so, and I'm still so encouraged, because so often many of us as parents who build businesses for our families, you know, they take routes that may or may not be in accordance to what we think as parents, in terms of, you know, we expect you to come into this business that we're building for you. And what encourages me about your story is how you, and you use the word, you say, prepare for a pivot, and pivot and pivot and pivot. And when I look at, again, my notes from what you're saying so far and earlier, I am, in addition to being encouraged, but also inspired that there's hope for me. So when your parents listen to this, I just want to thank them on behalf of Galen Bingham and Dr. James and all of us who have been building family businesses for our children and grandchildren. And that's why when you talked about third generation, they call it G1, G2, G3, G4, G5, and building that legacy. We don't know when that pivot will take place, so we have to continue to build. My question for you is, in the building, can you share with us your first introduction to this book, this philosophy? When and how did that start? And was that, you know, pivotal to your pivot?
Absolutely. So my first introduction to the book was in 2013. 2013, I had a gap, a 3-year gap from coaching, where I really need to rediscover myself. And the fun fact about me and this book is I've never owned a physical copy of the book. So around 2013, I really got into listening to podcasts. And I was listening to these podcasts, and this book, Think and Grow Rich, it just kept coming. So, you know, the first thing I do, again, I'm an 80s baby, so I go right to the Googles. And Google PDF version comes out. And so I just print the PDF version front and back. So I have like 300 pages of the book that I've highlighted. I've written notes on the side. And it was a book that each time I read it, I got something different. And I mentioned in a pre-show the importance of my name. So I have a very unique name. And the fact that my name is in this book spelled the proper way, I'm like, oh yeah, this book is definitely for me. And so I took the time. I read the book and I put it aside just because, you know, I wasn't ready to receive it fully. And that's another thing I really want to talk about in life is the importance of rereading books. There's power in reading books, but there's more and greater power in rereading books. And I say that because, you know, the words in the pages of the book, they're not going to change. It's you, the person, that is going to change each time you read that book. So the first time I laid hands on Think and Grow Rich, in one ear, out the other, but it just kept calling me. Fast forward to 2019, I'm ready to receive this message. I have combed through the book. And your statement of what you want, like actually putting tangible words to paper. So I broke down the steps you need to write your conviction statement. And I said, I am going to honor and pledge this to myself. So I took time, thought about the amount of money I wanted to make, what I was willing to do to get that amount of money, the things that I would do every single day. Because first we build our habits, and then our habits, they build us. And I knew if I wanted to be very intentional and have the courage to take something from my mind and cement it to paper, I also had to do the next step. And that was also to take the actionable items and actionable steps to transfer these words I've submitted to paper into actual real life attainable goals, dreams, and aspiration. That's another thing I really want to nail down home today. Is one thing to think about a version of your life. You can keep it inside of you. No one else knows that you have this dream for yourself. The next iteration is to cement it to paper. So when you get it out of your mind, out of your heart, and you lay it on print, now it's something that you can't hide from. When you put something on paper, it is there, it is present, it will greet you each and every day. The next part about writing something down is rewriting that thing down through your habits of just repetition. So I knew that I wanted to brainwash myself. And part of that brainwashing was rewriting this exact statement each and every day. First thing I did when I woke up, last thing I did when I went to bed. And this book has just been a centerpiece in the growth of myself. I went through so many years of my life where I identified myself through like this orange ball. I identified myself through this tangible item. And this book really taught me that, like, I'm not my profession. I am an individual. It's not what I do, it's who I am. And that is something that I really want to implore each and every person that is listening to this today. Don't define yourself by your profession or your career. And it's never too late to have a new beginning. That is the synopsis of my life. I went 15 years where I defined myself by a tangible object. And over the last 6 years, I have really transformed what I want, who I am. And it's always in the rear view mirror of the foresight of my parents and my grandparents to take something that did not exist prior to them and make it something that my brother and we didn't have to join the family business. They allowed it to be an option. And when you give your kids your options, when you give your friends your options, when you give individuals that just pass you by the option, you give them the option to change their life and make a strong pivot. Like, I can't implore everyone today that just realize that what you have in your life is what you make of your life. So
okay, drop the mic. Go ahead. I have absolutely no comment.
Well, that's the first. That being said, I'll just jump on in there since there are no comments from Ann McNeil's side of the world. Khadija, thank you so much for sharing your story, a little bit of how you were introduced into this phenomenal text here. I want to go back to masterminds though a little bit. In your life, especially around basketball, you have been exposed to the examples of the power of the mastermind. You think about it, a basketball team is full of like-minded individuals aiming towards one purpose. Your coaching staff is not just you by yourself. You have a team of a coaching staff as well, aiming towards one purpose. In this plumbing business, it's not just you. There's a team of individuals. And even in our corporate lives, in our work lives, most workplaces do not put individuals working on a project or have individuals setting out to accomplish the company's mission. They're putting people together. If you could, a little bit, examples of what this collective mastermind has meant to you, but also maybe inspire others of why they might need to step into that as well for their own goals and objectives.
Absolutely. My mastermind has evolved as I've gone through life. As a member of an athletic team on the high school and the college level, like you really don't get to choose the individuals that you are surrounded with. Your coaching staff, they choose the individuals that they're going to make a part of the collective team. The choice that you have is the individuals that you allow to be inside of your fold, of your mastermind. It's you having the wisdom to understand that uh, one, just because we share the same space, it does not allow you to share my mental space. And two, it allows you the ability to truly look at individuals and identify like what are the tangible skill sets that these individuals possess that I want to carry inside of my toolbox, transition into my adult life as a college coach. You really don't get to choose the coaching staff that you're a part of. You get to choose your head coach. Outside of your head coach, the individuals that you walk alongside in that journey, the head coach, they pick that individual. So I always went into a coaching staff thinking like, what can I contribute? Because I always want to lead with a gratitude throughout my coaching tenure. By far, there has been one coach that has really carried me throughout my journey, and that's Agnes Baronato. I was exposed to Agnes Baronato when I was a teenager, and she was the head coach at Georgia Tech. She watched me from a distance. She watched me grow. She watched me mature. I had the honor and the privilege of working for her at two of my coaching stints at the University of Pittsburgh and Kennesaw State University. And she taught me the value of care for others. She really showed through examples of how to show gratitude and how to show appreciation and the importance of it does not matter your title. People are not going to follow you based on your title alone. They're going to follow you based on your actions. So she's definitely always a member of I call them my personal board of directors, individuals that absolutely influence me. And then, transitioning out of coaches, I have a collective group of friends that as an adult, it's the first time you get to choose. These are the individuals that I am going to have in my life. These are the individuals that I'm going to allow to influence me. And in turn, I will influence them. So I have my own personal board of directors that throughout my adult life that I met from the age of my mid-20s leading up to today, and then transformed into my professional entrepreneurial life. My mastermind unknowingly are the individuals that have known me since day one. And it takes me back to the story from Think and Grow Rich is my parents. They've known me every single day of my life. And the lessons that they afford my brother and I, Odari, as we lead the business, they tell us if you ever have a concern, a worry, or a question, come to us because any obstacle you may face, we've already faced it. And we can give you the shortcut, the cheat code. So again, my mastermind includes Agnes Baronato, someone that has influenced my coaching career, my adult friends, my personal board of directors, and high level, my parents and my brother, Odari.
Good stuff overall. And before I hand it back to you, and thank you so much there, Khadija, for even spelling it out for us, for the audience who's watching, because that's going to also benefit them and identify, have me ask myself, but also audience members ask themselves, who is in my mastermind circle? Who is in my board of directors as well to help me, to help motivate me, to help push me? to be my counsel as well on a regular basis, especially when I'm in downtimes, times that are not so fun. We need that to a certain extent, but want to make sure that I acknowledge all the comments that are coming in there, Khadija, for you, for sure. Comment but from Imelda says it's never too late to have a new beginning. She loves that. Johnny Lloyd says, I'm speechless. There's so much in here to process and enjoy. But here's a question from Donley. Donley, who's usually in our webinar, is on YouTube today. And Donley says, for you, Khadija, what steps have you taken to empower those who coach with you when you have suffered a loss? And Donley also wants us to mention that he's at MTSU this weekend because it's homecoming weekend for them. But he wants to know for you, Khadija, what does it look like having to recover from a loss with other mastermind members? In this case, of course, coaching with them.
Mm-hmm. And you know, the funny thing about coaching is when I speak about my tenure of coaching and individuals, they ask me like, what are your most impactful moments? What do you remember the most? Talk about the wins and the losses. And those things are so minor when it comes to the overall aspect of truly being a college coach. So as a college coach, the target audience is the 18 to 22-year-old. The wins and losses, they are so minor because we truly get an opportunity to witness the most influential part of an individual life, that 18 to 22-year-old. It's their first time away from their parents. And so they're going to start walking in their true journey of life, identifying like, who am I? For the great majority of my life, from birth to 18, I've been under my parents' household. They dictated and directed every single thing I do. They've held me accountable. They've ensured that I don't have any missteps. And now, for the first time, I'm pushed out of the nest. My entire life, my parents have told me, don't get in the car with strangers. Make sure you make wise choices. And then when they get to a college campus, they are surrounded by individuals that are doing this for the first time, second time, third time, or the last time. And as a coach, my pride and joy in coaching to this day was always finding that first generation college student athlete. And there's so much power in that. I want to also acknowledge that college is also an option. You don't have to take that journey. But as a college coach, I would give a young lady an opportunity to change the entire trajectory of her family's life. So what I mean by that, when I find a first generation college grad, that means no one in their family has ever thought that college was possible. So I'm able to pluck them out of a road that is well traveled for their family. And when they bring them to campus the first time, they usually come with a collective of family members. And I always watch the eyes of the youngest, because those are the ones that are most influenced by the moment, because they are now seeing someone that they have Christmas dinners with, that they shared birthdays with, that they went on vacation, that, I can send a text message to my sister, to my auntie, but now they see like, this is someone I know. This is someone that now college is something our family does. Because look at my sister, look at my auntie, they're at college. My education does not have to stop at high school. And then that next moment would be the pride and joy when you see that individual walk across the stage. And there's power in the name. So when the members of the audience hears a name that's familiar to them spoken as a college graduate, and I want to acknowledge Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State is the only university that I've been at that at every commencement ceremony, they always acknowledge the first generation college grads. They had them stand up so everyone could applaud them. Because when I say it changes the entire trajectory of a family, because all it does, you just need one person to do it. It's like putting a pinhole in a dam. One pinhole creates the Grand Canyon. You just need one person, that first drop of water, to start the river flowing, and it'll carve out a magnificent wonder of the world.
Wow.
Wait a minute, and I gotta say before I pass it over to you, what resonated for me from that right there, that response was, sometimes we focus on those wins and losses too much, and we take our eyes off the big prize.
Mhm.
And that's what Khadija reinforced for me. We're gonna have those bad days, or those setbacks, or those failures, but the big picture. And this was powerful.
I said from the very beginning, and we always know when we're doing the pre-show with anybody, everybody, first of all, we're always affirming it's going to be the very best podcast ever. And for all of you that have been on, you know that certain people resonate with you, certain principles resonate with you in a very different way. I want to go to the annual meeting quickly, but I also, before you do that, Peter, Khadija has so many products that she's created. I really want our audience to understand, you know, the backstory for each of those, and then we'll go to our annual meeting, because we want to make sure, Khadija, you join us in Pompano Beach, Florida, for our annual meeting for your life based upon the book. But I really think that your products that you've created is a layup, if you will, for the annual meeting. So when you, why you laughing, Dr. James, and you laughing too, Khadija? It is a layup.
You're using them.
I'm gonna make the shot.
It's a what? It's a 3-point shot, you said?
And I'm gonna make it. So I'm gonna give you assist.
All right, bring it. Okay, go ahead. Dr. James is going to share, but I really want the audience to know a little bit more about what you've done and what you're doing. It is so powerful.
Again, my coaching persona was head coach head. Again, like, I can't implore the power of my name. It was destined for me to be where I am. So the first product that we have on screen is the quarterly career journal. Again, there is power in cementing your words to paper. And throughout the onset of pre-COVID, like, I really wanted to turn my life. I wanted to make a pivot. And again, I kept hearing people talk about the power of journaling. So I did as all you do. I got a legal notebook that didn't hold me accountable. I got a spiral notebook that didn't keep me accountable. I tried wide rule. I tried college rule, and it just didn't stick. And I said, you know what? If I want to make this thing real, the best person that knows what I need is me. So I created my very own journal. It's specific to my wants, needs, and desires. It holds me accountable. To me, habits are built through 90-day cycles. So I said, all right, I'm going to go and create something for the quarter that's going to chunk the year down for me, where I have what I want to accomplish in quarter one, quarter two, and we're leading into quarter three with the month of October. It allows me to high level look at what I want to accomplish through the quarter, and if we overestimate what we can accomplish in a day, and we underestimate what we can accomplish in a year. So I was like, all right, let me take the quarter. And once I have the quarter, I'll take my month. And once I have my month, I'll have my week. And then once I have my week, I'll have what I want to do each and every day. And I always start with my main priority of the day, singular. What I've learned through that day, what I want to accomplish. And then the last question I always ask myself is like, what do I want to accomplish tomorrow? Because when I wake up, I want to have a plan. I don't want to just wake up and say, all right, let's see what happens. Because if you lead your life that way, it does not matter where you end up because you'll go nowhere. But when you're intentional about what you want to accomplish in your life, not only will you achieve it, you will surpass it. And the last thing I really want to implore about journaling is it allows you to look back. Dr. Peter mentioned, like, sometimes we get so caught up in like these minor rocks in the road, these roadblocks, these pebbles, and we forget like all the things that we've accomplished along the way. And that's the one thing my journal allows me to do, because on the back end of it, you look back, you look back over the quarter, some things you accomplished, some things you had no idea they were goals, and you look at yourself now. So the quarterly career journal is something that really allows me to look at the first, the next, and the last 30 days in the quarter. And another product that I create that I don't promote because it's for me, Khadija, and it directly relates to the book, Think and Grow Rich, and specifically gaining power through the mastermind, is being intentional about what I want to accomplish out of life, is creating a statement for your life and rewriting that statement for the next 31 days. And it's basically brainwashing yourself. And last but not least, go ahead and click that link. Peter, I would be remiss if I did not shout out my family throughout 2021 and 2022. My pledge was to make sure everyone understood that Heads Plumbing Sales and Service Inc. was Georgia's oldest Black-owned plumbing company since 1981. And as I round out 2023 and catapult into 2024, my mission, my drive is to make sure that everyone knows that we are the largest small business that you never heard of. And word around Metro Atlanta, no matter which way you flip the coin, heads always win. So if you're looking for a reliable plumber, please call 404-696-3175. Again, 404-696-3175. We're 4 generations in. My mother's mother was the original voice of Heads Plumbing Sales and Service Inc. My father's father was our first plumber who rode to his customer houses on a MARTA transportation. My mother and father, they made it tangible. They turned us into a corporation. My brother Odari is a state licensed master plumber for over 20 years. He has been in a plumbing truck since the age of 10. Myself, I joined the fold in 2021, and each and every summer, my nephews, Cameron and Jaden, they start their journey as becoming the next generation of Heads Plumbing plumbers.
Wow, that was a lot. That was good there, Khadija. That was good. You had me captivated. And we are it's almost time to land this plane.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, not yet.
No, not yet. Because what Khadija did, and I called it a layup because everything you just shared is exactly what we do here as a part of the International Mastermind Association. And sitting here, looking into your journal reminds me of, my journey in 1979, but the products that I've created, which are almost verbatim. And I just want to share with everybody, the principles come from the book, which is the Bible. It tells us that he would give us the desires of our heart, but you must be clear about exactly what you want and use your imagination and all of these other principles in order to achieve that. And what Khadija has done in the products that she's created has also given us a platform, a system, a process. And when you take these and you connect them to her family business, it will live for generations because of the mindset and the masterminding that they're doing as a family, with family goals, but not just family goals, but family strategies and plans and actions that they're taking, not annually or just monthly, but every single day in order to hit that goal. So Peter's going to share with us the information about our annual meeting. And I can go ahead and talk about it, Peter, real quick. Our annual meeting, as you can see on the screen, is going to be held at the True by Hilton. It's a different hotel. It's a different location. If you've come before, please make sure you register. The investment is nothing compared to what you get in return. I continue to get millions back in terms of the minor investment that you make. But if you don't invest your time, your talents, and your treasure to come, if you don't do what Khadija is asking all of us to consider doing, then do not complain about your state in life. Do not complain about this or that. Do not complain about not having a process and a system, because every year we bring to you a platform and a place where you can come and be with like-minded and like-spirited individuals like Khadija and Peter, Galen, myself, and many others who are on here today that come every year to be held accountable for our goals. And it is just phenomenal. So you can go to the International Masterminders with an S.com and you can register there. But I would challenge you to just think about, what if you don't do it? What if you don't do it? Even if you're on the border and you're thinking about maybe, register anyway, because the investment will double. I want to keep saying that. And people think I'm kidding, and they say, wait till the last minute. Oh, I did not know. Listen, it is pittance compared to what you will get in return, not just for yourself, but also for your family. But I want to come back to you, Khadija, and I like to always ask our guests if there is a particular book that's a favorite book of yours that you like to share and why, because I think that many of our listeners are also readers, and it's always good to understand how you got here in your journey in terms of reading. We know about the Think and Grow Rich, but if there are any other favorite books that you read on a regular basis and why?
Absolutely. So each year, I read a couple of books. The first book is The 4 Agreements. It is a great cornerstone in my life. It talks about just being a good person at your core, that like you keep these 4 agreements centered to your heart and your mind, that everything else, it'll work out. Another book that I read each year is The Alchemist, and it talks about a journey that individuals go on, one individual in particular. And one line that always resonates with me is that when you want something, the entire universe will conspire to help you achieve it. And that is a line that I keep near and dear to my heart. And it is the core of my life. I feel like that if I have the power to take something that was given specifically to me and understand, like when we have thoughts and dreams, like they are specific to you. If they were meant for someone else, it would have been given to them, but it was given to you. So it is up to you to bring it from your mind into the real world, because someone needs it. And the greatest gift you can give to the world is to share yours. And that's something that I carry with me throughout The Alchemist. And a book that I read each and every day is The Daily Stoic. Is a short passage where it just kind of, starts my day. I read those 3 books every single year. And of course, I cannot forget Think and Grow Rich. It's a book, again, like I've never had the physical book. When I say I have the printed out PDF version of the book that I've had for over 6 years. Now, it's a book that every time I read it and reread it, I get something new. The first time I read it, COVID didn't exist. The book talks about the Great Depression in 1929 and how it transferred wealth. And fast forward, we went through our own version of that through COVID. So when I reread the book during and post COVID, like those lines, they stuck out to me because I never had that experience prior to COVID. And then once we went through COVID, I thought, absolutely. Like, yes, the transfer of wealth, the great reset. And I was like, this is my chance to make the book real for me because we're all in a reset. So what am I going to do? And it mentions that like it's a lesson that the world will forget. And sure enough, we went through the Great Depression, and it was so far long ago. When we went through the housing market reset in 2008, it didn't mean much to me. I was in a secure place in life. I didn't realize we went through a recession. But when we went through COVID, in particular, our family business, we're a service-based business. So we need to go to people to provide our product. And we had an opportunity to really be the superheroes for America. What I mean by that, people really didn't understand the power of a plumber. For our entire life, this is what your life looks like. You wake up in the morning, you maybe turn on a sink to brush your teeth, flush your toilet, and you go to work. You come back home, you maybe flush your toilet again, wash your hands, cook dinner. So your appliances, they get used maybe like 3 to 4 times in a day. COVID put everybody home. And when you're home, everybody's home. So the toilet that was being flushed 1 to 2 times a day, now it's being flushed 10 to 12 times a day. Things that typically go in the toilet once every blue moon, now you have unattended children that are doing school at home, and you're adding another room trying to do work, and unattended children, they put things down the toilet all the time. Individuals were captured in their home, and they understood like my plumbing system, the age of it was hyperextended. And so the plumbers, the superheroes of the world, we stepped in to save the day. Individuals, they called us. We had to pivot and create ways to still provide our service, to still provide our employees an opportunity to provide for their families. When everyone was sheltered in place, plumbing was an essential business. So when I say plumbers are the superheroes of the world, can you imagine your home without a plumbing system? I'm not using the outhouse. That's a non-negotiable for me.
I'm laughing, Khadija, because I'm in the construction industry, and a lot of people don't realize that we had to keep it moving, no pun intended. Listen, I want to circle back around to Peter and have him share a little bit about who he is, what he does, and we're going to prepare to wrap up. I literally have 5 pages of notes, and I was hoping that I could kind of go through some of them because you have just really 3 pointers all morning long and all net. That's all it is. Okay, yes, go ahead, please, Peter.
Oh my goodness, yes, the basketball analogies do not stop this morning, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, listen, everyone knows who Dr. Peter A. James is. I'm not even going to focus on that. What I want to focus on right now, Ann McNeil, is some of the comments that have been coming in on the chat. Charles Bright says he loves the personal board of directors that Khadija has been talking about overall. So thank you so much for that, Khadija. Patrick Alexander, Johnny Lloyd are saying that yes, they will be there for the annual meeting. Ann McNeil, that's huge. Musanda Nitemwa, hopefully I'm saying that, Musanda, your name correctly. Musanda says the way Khadija talks about her parents, her grandparents, her brother and nephews, you can actually notice the spirit of harmony flowing from one generation of their business to the next. I'm actually going to ask, we're going to go over time today, folks, so thank you so much for bearing with us. Khadija, we have someone who's asked another question. Madison Sky has asked a question about your niche. How did you carve out your niche walking into your family business in order to add value. So really quickly, can you identify how you applied your value into your family business, Khadija, really quickly? Thank you so much.
Faithfully falling forward.
Mm.
That is the best way I can summarize it. Just leaning forward, understanding that I may not know the exact way to do it, but I do know taking actions will get me one step closer. So if you have a dream for yourself, just take forward action. And when you want something, the entire universe will conspire to help you achieve it. One quote I want to share, and I have it on my desktop, is I'm exactly where I need to be to accomplish the things I need to learn in this exact moment that I stand in.
Love that. Love that. And McNeil.
Oh my. All right. You still need to tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Oh, I'm Peter James.
Okay.
I'm just here every week. So pass it back to you, Ed.
All right, we're going to go ahead and prepare to wrap up. Khadija, I just want to thank you so very kindly, because I do want to mention some of my aha moments from what you shared, and it has just been so encouraging. I said that from the very beginning, and I think that all of our listeners would agree with me. And if you are in agreement with me, can you put in the chat, regardless of where you are on YouTube, Facebook, on the Zoom, just say agree. I agree. Can you put that in the chat? When you talked about prepare to pivot, and it helps us to know that there's many different pivots that come in life, but also in business. And so that was one of my highlights. Also, when you talked about the gap, the 3-year gap, and going through self-discovery. I think oftentimes when we go through that gap, we just keep moving. We don't stop to reflect, which is why your journal is so very important. And we have what we call a McNeil Factor Clarity Mastermind, where we do a lot of the suggestions that you have in your book. We do those exact same exercises on a daily basis. And for those who hit the 30 days, we actually send them a gift every month. So I'll talk about that later. But so many items that you mentioned, you talked about being intentional, and the habits are built through 90-day cycles. But also, as we build our habits continue to build us. I mean, I could go on and on with the many comments you made. Write it down. We take it so for granted, but then the rewriting of it. And a lot of times we want to write it and read it. And one of the most powerful activities we do as a part of our Clarity Mastermind is we write every day. And if you're new, we ask you for at least 30 days to write the self-confidence formula every single day. And for the mere fact you're writing twice a day is exactly what Napoleon shares in his 6 steps. And if you're interested in receiving those 6 steps, I'd encourage you to text the number 55678 and just put in the chat the word "and." That number again is text on your device, whichever one you use, phone, 55678, and in the chat, put the word "and" you'll receive those. You also talked about your name, Khadija J. Head and Head's Plumbing. I don't think that your parents could be any more proud than to see how you're taking the business to an entirely different level. And each of you as family members, you have your own lanes that you walk in, but also you run in. And as a part of a very strong mastermind, Napoleon Hill shares with us that one of the best masterminds is husband and wife. And I'd like to suggest and add to that, another is a family, because you don't get any stronger than that family unit. And when we can all come together in the family union, and now you're on G4, the 4th generation, how more powerful can it be? I mean, you think about many of the families in the Atlanta area that are now on generation 4 and 5, especially those at the airport that are builders and concessionaires. You can see them. And so I just want to encourage everybody, please comment, like, share this podcast, but go back and re-listen. But this time, listen with a pen and write. What actions are you going to take when it comes to really thinking about how do you accumulate wealth? She shared it with you today. And if you missed it, it's okay. Go back and re-listen. Now, I'm going to come back to you, Khadija. I'm not sure, Dr. James, that you want to say anything else about how people can connect with you, or were you done?
I know you've asked me a couple of times. Yeah, folks, my name is Dr. Peter A. James. You can find me at shiftyourmindset.com or any social media channel at Dr. Peter A. James. It's at DrPeterAJames. Listen, I have so many notes, and you said them all so eloquently. Let's pass the baton over to, or maybe pass the rock over to Khadija right now, so she could tell us how we can stay in touch with her. And again, I'll connect with the audience from that perspective.
Absolutely. As I began, I also want to end with gratitude. So Dr. James and Ann, thank you so much for having me today. It is an honor and a privilege to be one of your guests on your show. You could have chose anyone in the world, and you chose me for this weekend. So that is powerful. How you can connect with me. The first and most important way I want you to connect with me is pull out your cell phone, open the contacts, type in Heads Plumbing, Sales and Service Inc. Save the phone number 404-696-3175. Again, that number is 404-696-3175. We do residential service and repair plumbing. Our list of customers, it is as minor as a residential single family home, as major as Zoo Atlanta. We take pride and joy that we work with different agencies such as the King Birth Home. We work with several nonprofits who provide individuals in our underserved community, specifically in the baby boomer generation. The city of Atlanta has a lot of plumbing that is deteriorating, and these organizations, they provide these individuals an opportunity to find solace in their home, their dwelling. You can follow us on Instagram. That's where we're most active on social media at Heads with an S _ plumbing. Again, that's at Heads _ plumbing. I give you insight into what our version of plumbing is. We really want to pivot away from the preconceived notion of what a plumber looks like. We have tremendous individuals that work inside of our company. We have mothers, we have fathers, we have dads, we have uncles, we have a father and son duo that is outside of our head family that works inside of our business. We're a pillar of our community. The individuals that help support our business, I want to really acknowledge them. The accounting firm we use, they're Black owned. The landscaper that we use, they're Black owned. Our mobile detailer is Black owned. And I say that to say that it's important that we support each other. There is more than enough pieces of the pie that no one will ever go hungry. So I ask you to recirculate dollars with those individuals that support you. I ask you to promote and encourage the entrepreneurs that are within your friend circle. And it does not always have to be monetary. It can be as simple as sharing a post, as I hope you would share the link to today's show so individuals can watch this episode. But I also ask you to go back and watch past episodes. Dr. James and Ann have had tremendous guests that have provided a depth and a wealth of knowledge. And I'm excited to see the next iteration of who will follow us next Saturday and the many Saturdays to come. Again, thank you for having me. It has been a joy and a pleasure. I cannot thank you both enough.
Oh my goodness. Again, my name is Ann McNeil, and Khadija, on behalf of all of us, we thank you so very much. I'm going to go back myself and put my headphones on as I'm walking and going around, and continue to share this podcast, but also re-listen, because you've dropped so many gems, and the 3-pointers are just out of the gym. So listen, everybody, I don't know what else we could say, because again, this has been full of nuggets. How do you accumulate wealth? Again, my name is Ann McNeil. I am the Master Wealth Builder, helping you to build stronger and better lives and businesses. And I help women in construction go to the next level. And we will see you next week on this podcast, on this YouTube. And remember to continue to think and grow richer. Have a great day.